Well, hello there. My name is Natalie Galan, and I am the host of this podcast and video channel. And I am also the filmer and recorder, so I apologize for the lack of excellent quality. But, it's going to get there. So I wanted to thank you for listening and or watching this evening or this afternoon or this morning, whatever it happens to be for you while you're watching this. I really appreciate you checking it out. And I also wanted to remind you of the two S's. Share and subscribe if you enjoy this or if you think you might get into it a little bit more. I would really appreciate that. So just hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you are listening / and or watching this on. I would love that. Okay, so side note, I was just like thinking about this. I don't know if my headphones actually do anything, so if anyone knows and has a comment, let me know. Otherwise I might just like not wear them because I look cool, but I'm not sure if they're doing anything. Okay, so on that note, I want to get into a topic today that has been on my mind for the past week. And it's on the topic of focus. And what I wanted to talk about is just how I've experienced focus in things that I've been working on, in things in my life, and how there might be some value that you can take from my experience. So before I get started, I wanted to actually preempt it with just kind of like a general comment about the things I talk about and inclusive of this topic. I really talk about this in a sort of an exploratory point of view, wherein I don't consider myself an expert at a lot of the things that I talk about, almost anything. But I really want to kind of dive into some of these things because they're thoughts that go through in my head, and I hope to like get some comments back, and I just see it more as like I'm in the learning process as much as possibly or not maybe as far along the way as any of you. And I think the value that brings is that there might be some other people like that are kind of like struggling with different things or learning, or I think we're all probably learning in some things. But anyway, before I blabber on too much about that, I basically just want to preempt this by saying I don't think I'm an expert in any of these topics necessarily. I just have a mind that goes a lot, and so I'm sharing that. So, my kind of question that I pose today is that, or sort of like suggestion is that focus could possibly be viewed kind of as importantly physiologically and physically as it is mentally. So if you're like me, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear the word focus is like my mind. I have to focus my mind. And I think I just think there's other things to explore with that. So I'm going to get into that a little bit today. And I would love to hear at the end what your opinion is and sort of how you consider things and if you've had similar experiences. So on that note, I think we've all probably been in situations where we found it hard to focus. And what I have learned and observed and read and experienced through my many years of doing different things is that there really is a range of sort of natural ability to focus among everyone, among us. And so I think there's a definite inherent sort of genetic component to your ability to focus. And I think there's really value in recognizing where you are on that scale. I actually don't think I'm a super focused person in general. I think I have a hard time committing to something natural. I don't view myself as having a naturally high level of focus. And, you know, like I sit here some days like working on projects or business stuff, and I'm literally like within the span of 30 minutes have started like 10 different things and haven't finished any of them. And I don't think I'm alone or special because of that. I think there's other people out there that do that. I think there's other people out there that could do that but have like trained themselves not to do that. I think there's people out there that don't have that tendency. So yeah, I just find it interesting to give that sort of like basis of like being the value of being aware of where you're at, and where you can like make improvements from there. So there's a few different like scenarios that come to mind when I think of focus. And one of them that like comes to mind right away for me is the gym and like committing to exercise, and excuse me, just how that has been a transition over my life. Like I've gone from so many different phases of like not enjoying going to the gym, enjoying it, blah blah. Like so I've experienced different feelings about going to the gym. And what I can say is that my level of focus and commitment has improved over the years. And I think that came mostly from when I started really reaping the benefits of it. And I think that's something that's a pretty common experience as well. Some people just never like the gym, or they've, you know, same thing. There's always that range. But anyway, so then what I actually wanted to go into a little bit more, even like deeper into the concept of going to the gym, is like more recently in the last few months, I've recognized where my head is at during the gym. And like I've always gone for many years now, like I've always gone and had good workouts and felt good. But like definitely there's days where I have to push myself more than others to have a good workout, to even get there. It's usually the in transit that's the hardest part. And I don't know how this came up as an idea, but I got this idea or had this sensation once of like when I was doing some exercises, I think it was when I was doing leg exercises, I like my head was sort of like my headspace was like going all over the place. And then I just took, I think I was doing squats, and I just literally was like, decided not to think about where my head was at. And I just like physiologically, physically, like I focused my eyes on a spot. And it sounds so minute and insignificant, but like it drew my mind into just doing the exercise. And I found that really interesting, because then I realized like, okay, my mind's going everywhere and I'm telling myself like it's hard to focus. And then I actually just literally physically feel that sensation of focus, and it changes my whole mindset. Like my mind was 100% in the exercises. And like, you know, you go into doing a set of whatever and it's like, oh, this is going to be hard. Like, oh, it's so heavy, blah, blah. And just natural things that we're not even aware of, that our mind is telling ourselves, our inner voice kind of thing. And like, I've actually experienced the feeling of shutting that off. And that to me I became aware that that was like this idea of focus. And so what I actually kind of made the connection is that if I wasn't able to mentally be focused in the gym, I could actually force my mind to be focused by using my body. And then just like in thinking about wanting to talk about this, I actually made an Instagram post a few days ago, and it was about that same idea of focus and how it just can be expanded to so many different situations that we're trying to use our focus in and be intentional about what we're doing. And like kind of the joke example I had was putting on makeup. And I don't wear a lot of makeup, but when I do, like I know that physiologically I have to focus on doing it well, because it's not second nature to me and whatever. And so anyway, I just made the connection of like realizing that when you focus, it's literally this process of like seeing and committing to something regardless, and not looking at what's going around that's trying to distract you. So sort of the like gym exercise example can also be extended to like so many different things in life. You know, people working on losing weight. Okay, so like aside from the exercise, there's the eating component. And I've been in this situation many a times, and I'm still in this, where like I have this goal of like losing weight or eating healthier, and that's my focus. And then I'm like always returning, like, why is that so hard to focus on? And so one is like there's always these distractions around us, like, you know, I'm focused on my goal of eating healthy or like eating a certain amount of food, or, you know, whatever, not eating certain foods. And then distractions come along, and distractions are in the form of friends, like social events, all that stuff. Like we all know it. And what I just realized is it's that same principle. It's like you're focused on something, and the amount of focus you're giving is sort of like related to invertedly related. I don't know if that's a word. I don't think that's a word. Related to how much you allow the distractions around you to play into that. So or to affect you. And so I just realized like it's kind of, you can just really simplify this sort of like mathematical equation of like total amount of focus minus amount of attention given to distractions equals output focus. Like I don't know, it just, in my head, that's what I realized is like it's sort of, you kind of like make all these excuses why you're not doing things, like, oh, this and that, but like it literally is as simple as that. And so then I'm like, why is it so hard? Like I can go to the gym every day, and yet my eating habits are not very good. And like, why can I be focused in one thing and not in the other? And then I realized, and this is also something I've read and heard about and listened to and talked about and whatever, is that the further away that thing that you're focusing on is, the harder it is to stay focused. The more distractions are coming into that space where like you're looking down the road. And it makes, for example, one of my things is like eating. I'm a big like snacker when I'm stressed, like I overeat, like binging, whatever. And I realized like that the reason I don't want to do that, my focus is to like maintain a good weight, be healthy, like not have a negative relationship with food. And the reason I'm not like able to stay as focused is because like the tangibility, the tangibleness of that is further away and takes longer to get to that point, and there's all these distractions in the way. And I'm not saying this like it's this really profound statement. I just am like realizing that all these like things that always go through my head of like focus and this and that can actually be very simplified. And I really value when things can be simple. And I think people do, because they can sort of then have that as sort of their go-to. Like, okay, I'm like, the other day I had this sort of like mindset of like wanting, in my afternoon, I'm working on stuff, wanting to snack. And I'm like, that is a distraction that's taking away from my focus. And like in that moment, it was very useful to have that sort of self-talk and simplicity to kind of go back to. So I guess what I'm like wanting to then further connect is that as sort of like these distractions come into play, I think that we can relate that to that idea again of like focus being either mental or physiological. And like, so in the context of eating, snacking, whatever, like people say when you remove distractions, it makes it easier to stay focused. So like physically being away from food, or, you know, like physically not going out with your friends. And that like all sounds very harsh, but like it's the truth. And so I think I guess the way I look at it is like it's a really interesting sort of maybe different way of looking at focus as opposed to just a mental capacity or skill, and realizing that there's maybe something to tap into as a physiological response and ability to focus. And maybe that can help for those who are not mentally tough or able to control their mental side of that focus. Because for me, I know inside my head, like physically, I'm really like into the sort of physical aspect of me and my being, and the mental part is what I've been working on, more notably like as I've started a business and stuff. But I'm like seeing how I can tap in and use my sort of physicality and like and that sort of aspect that I feel in control of to support my mental growth. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was just like how there's maybe different dynamics to this idea of focus and how I've started using it to help me very slowly build the skills to be focused, more focused mentally. And so I think that's about it. I would love your comments. I hope you enjoyed this video / podcast, audio podcast of mine. I won't take any more of your time because I know you should be focused on something else. But I really appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, please share, and please like if you liked it. And let me know what you think. I will be signing off for tonight. Cheers. Ciao.